Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss the Lego Movie, featuring the voices of Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, Nick Offerman, Alison Brie, Charlie Day, Liam Neeson, and Morgan Freeman, and directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Now, I am leading this series up to the Lego Ninjago movie, and people were asking, well, not asking me, but were wondering, why am I doing the Lego movie? Well, because of the Lego Ninjago movie coming up. And what did I think of this movie? Let's figure it out. Let's get into it. I love the animation in this movie. And by animation, I mean Legomation is what I'm going to keep referring to throughout this whole series, which means animation made out of Legos. Is it brilliant to make this movie? Lego Batman and the upcoming Lego Ninjago movie, you won't have any complaints from me about how brilliantly realistic it is. I'm such a fan of Will Ferrell that I love everything he does and voices here. And I'm going to be doing another series of his later this year with Daddy's Home. And let's see how I thought about that one when we get to November. Here he voices President, or Lord Business, who's the villain in this whole movie. And I actually liked his character. I thought he was funny, in my mind. The hero is Emmett, voiced by Chris Pratt, who I will eventually get into in Guardians of the Galaxy when I get to the Avengers series, who is an average Joe, and I like the character because he has an arc throughout the movie. We'll see Mr. Pratt again a couple of times next year, not just in Avengers, but in Jurassic World, for example, with that sequel coming up. That song, Everything is Awesome, is going throughout the whole movie and kind of annoyed the stink out of me completely, I felt like. Emmett putting on the piece of resistance magically on his back and becomes the master builder, or the special as they call it. And the next thing you know, Bad Cop, voiced by Liam Neeson, interrogating Emmett about the piece of resistance and gets saved by Lucy, aka Wild Style, voiced by Elizabeth Banks, who I will get into when I get to Pitch Perfect. And the most awesome action chase scene was really exciting and thrilling. I love when Bad Cop loses Emmett and Wild Style at this point and keeps kicking a sign because he was really pissed. That was really funny. I really like Wild Style just explaining the story about who Lord Business, or in this case President Business, is. And when he was confused about the Master Builder stuff, and Emmett talks about when Bad Cop says Lord Business destroys the world on Taco Tuesday. Just brilliant. While we're in the Old Western, we get introduced to the Wizard, who is voiced by the always great Morgan Freeman, who I reviewed before in the Dark Knight trilogy. And his character is blind thanks to Lord Business in the opening scene, and made up the prophecy about Emmett being the special. And I really like the character, and always gets a great presence to see and hear Morgan Freeman in his voice, although it was sad that he died later in the movie. I love the pigs acting like horses and carries the stroller, and Emmett uses his brain as a wheel on the stroller. It was just great. I love Will Arnett's version of Batman, especially in next week's movie, and I love the stink out of his song, Darkness! It's just too funny. We're now on Cloud Cuckoo Land and get introduced to Unikitty, voiced by Alison Brie, who will eventually work with Will Ferrell in another movie that is called Get Hard, which I didn't personally care for, but if we ever get around to it, you'll see why. And the character is really adorable, like a cat. Excuse me. Metalbeard, while Emmett gives his speech, explains how hard President Business's office because it's so stinking tall, but he may be the least favorite character of mine because he just kind of annoyed me throughout the movie. I have a couple of characters who is like a favorite of mine. Favorite character number 1 is Benny, voiced by Charlie Day, who's the spaceman. And number 2 is President, or Lord Business, because he's voiced by Will Ferrell. I love the Millennium Falcon showing up, and out of the blue, and the original actors, with maybe an exception of Han Solo himself, are voices of the characters. It's just great. I'm a Star Wars fan, and we'll get to why later this year. I love Batman's line to a robot, "I'm here to see your butt." And yes, he said that. It was just hilarious and brilliant for a kid's movie. Emmett and Wildstyle as robots for just one scene sounds and looks bad. The wizard finally tells Emmett the prophecy is a fake. That moment was sad, like I said earlier, as the wizard dies by a penny Lord Business threw at his head, which chopped off, which, it made me sad. I have a problem with the man upstairs scene at the end of the movie when Will Ferrell is live action in his son. A dream sequence is very problematic because how could you switch from Legomation to live action with Will Ferrell and his son? And Will Ferrell made the Lego built up and left alone, which is for adults, but the son plays with them, and now it is just which is for kids, is a very odd thing to do for a Legomation movie turning into live action. Just don't do that. I love when Benny says, "Spaceship! Spaceship!" a lot of times until when he eventually builds the spaceship, again and again after he builds a spaceship. I thought that was funny. Emmett tells Lord Business he's special is a good message for this movie, and it's a fun way to know that everyone is special in their own way, just to make people feel good. I was really happy with that ending. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.0 out of 10. I love the Legomation and the acting and the characters. I also like how the Legos move and the humor in it. This is great. If it weren't for the live action stuff at the end of the movie, it would have been a better movie in my mind. And I will be back next week for the Lego Batman movie. And until next time, everything is awesome!